Let's see. Hey everyone, happy New Year's. It's Aaron Morrow here and Bryan LaFlamme, my co-host and awesome Washingtonian lender from the
That's
LaFlamme
it.
Group.
Awesome Washingtonian is what I'm known as.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Well, we're here, right after a restful holiday season. Took the holidays off. We took 1 week off from this live stream to be with our families, enjoy the crazy shenanigans of the holidays. Real quick, for anyone that's following Tango's story, Tango has officially been adopted and he's with his forever adoptive family.
Yay. Oh.
Bittersweet, all that. Anyways, I'm going to move on from that, but we're back and today we're just going to talk about a smorgasbord of stuff, including just what's going on with the current market stuff, and just tips on what you can do as this market in the Seattle area starts to heat up right now while these interest rates start to come down. Bryan, any takes right now? Anything to mention right off the bat, right from the get-go?
The market is being the market. We had a really nice rally ending the year, which we've talked about in the last two podcasts. And as expected, the market took some of those profits the past week or so. We had some really, really, really big economic reports that really moved the markets, mostly to do with jobs that come out the first week of every month. Ending with today's Bureau of Labor Statistics non-farm payroll report. And some other things. So the market is, without getting too technical, we've given back some of the gains, but we're holding nicely well below our October highs. We're still about 100 basis points in the 10-year, which is about 1% below our October highs in the 10-year Treasury.
Got it. Okay, definitely. Let me save, hold on. I'm going to pull up actually a slide here because I have some statistics to show of what has sold. It's not super recent, but from MLS, I like to bring up what has been kind of going on since November for King, Pierce, and Snohomish County. So let me put this in here real quick. Let's see here. Let me kind of get this in here real quick. Let's see if I can get that in there. Okay, so check out this chart real quick. So these statistics, according to the Northwest MLS service data, are of single-family homes and condos from November of 2023. So, when we're getting the statistics to be able to show you, sometimes I like to go for a little bit, a 1 or 2 month lag, just to be able to provide all the numbers from all three counties. But notice here, with the trend, or with all that we've got going on here, I could show you. Let me see if I could find what we've got going on from last time. So a couple of things to note here. So according to recent Northwest Multiple Listing Service data, interest rates eased by approximately 6.62% as of December 15th, 2023. So that's down a full 7.8% in October of this year.
However, 6.62 from 7.8%.
Yes, yeah, correct. And it's a substantial 17% decrease in inactive property listings compared to the same period last year.
Hold on. I want to stop on that because we've talked about this a bit in the other podcast. Yeah. When interest rates go down, inventory also goes down. People think more people will be listing their house, so more inventory is going to come on the market. Yeah. The reality is those sellers are buyers, but low interest rates bring first-time home buyers who don't have a house to sell. First-time home buyers are over a third of all buyers in the market, and first-time home buyers don't have a house to sell. So inventory decreases as rates go down, not the inverse.
Right.
And yeah. Borne out by what you just said.
Completely agree. Yeah, and then it creates a cluster situation because you've got more buyers entering because they're like, less interest rates, I can afford more house. But then you've got less sellers coming on the market, And
Yep.
now you have more demand coming into a situation. So now it's creating more of a competitive situation, more of a bidding war situation. Like we've been talking
King
about on this
County,
podcast.
yeah, November to December, King County went down almost 18.5% in homes for sale. That's inventory that's down. Number of homes on the days on the market went down 9% year over year. Over 50% of homes, over 58% of homes in King County sold within 30 days. That doesn't help inventory. That hurts it.
No,
That
no,
doesn't,
it doesn't.
it means there's competition. These houses they're people that want to buy them. There's more competition.
I think you mentioned this time last year was at 40 days on market.
Mm-hmm.
Same time last
41.
year.
You were way off.
41.
41
Yeah.
days.
Way
That's
off by
embarrassing
one
for you.
day. Yeah. Super
Samsonite was
embarrassing.
way
I need to
off.
cut this live stream right now.
Cut it.
Cut it.
Give up your
Cut it.
license, Morrow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go back to working at T-Mobile or doing my other jobs.
Just selling
where
vacuum cleaners door to door on the houses that are on the market.
I was a mall cop for a bit there too, and then
Are you serious? Can we do the rest of the
volunteer
podcast about mall
firefighter
cop
and
stories?
oh gosh, no, you don't want to
Wow.
hear my mall cop stories. I don't think it's our
100%.
target audience on this one.
Okay, can
I
we
can definitely
vote
share
on
some
the
of them
live
with you.
streams? Who wants to hear?
If we get enough
Yes.
comments, if we get enough people actually commenting that they're interested in that, we will start slipping some of those stories in there.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to mention is NAR, so National Association of Realtor. They foresee that there's going to be a 13.5% increase in existing home sales, and anticipates that the new home sales, which have defied market trends by rising approximately 5% this year, they could see another substantial increase of 19% by the end of the upcoming year. So through the end of 2024. So I don't know. We're definitely here for it. That's why we kind of titled the thumbnail "New Year, New Market." It's definitely obviously, like you've been talking about, everything's been trending downward on the interest rates as they've been going down, and the activity is definitely starting to show.
Yeah. We
Buyers are
talked
getting
about
out
this
there
time
right now.
last year.
Yeah.
Home purchase applications went up by their largest week over week increase in history. Last January 2023, as rates dipped down. And we have seen fewer, we haven't seen quite the growth that we had last year, because last year the market gangbusters out of the gates with the rates going down. Here we saw that happen in November and December moving into January, but we're still seeing, to your point earlier, a lot more demand and a lot more people out. I got to tell you, man, our phone is ringing off the hook. That there's no rest for any of us in this industry right now, because people are seeing what we told them that was going to happen before, and they're seeing it happen before their eyes, and now they're acting.
And it's happening.
It's happening. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah, I completely agree. One of the apps that us realtors use, or a lot of us realtors use, some realtors boycott it, and that's a completely different story altogether, but it's Showing Time. Showing Time's an app that a lot of
Why would someone
listings
boycott
use.
that? It's so easy.
I mean, that's a whole different ball game about how Zillow owns it. And
Okay.
Zillow owning the data to Showing Time, and anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But with Showing Time, we're able to, when I have buyers asking me when they want to see a property, for at least the last year, it was pretty easy to book something almost sometimes even like a week out,
Right.
Now it's getting to the point where like I'm watching it, because I remember when you go into Showing Time during the pandemic, things would be like just booked out solid, on stuff. And you're like,
You'd buy it sight unseen sometimes.
You were a magician trying to fit in showings where you could, like, if you had, like, for instance, if I had a relocation buyer come in from out of town and they wanted to line up and stack up like 15 different properties in one outing or one weekend during the pandemic, it was like, oh my goodness, how do I fit them all together? And then they would be like, hey, we only need like 15 minutes at each property. And then you're like figuring out the drive times. So then it would almost take a full 2 hours to really like figure all those out, because half the properties are not vacant. where
Mm-hmm.
there's scheduling conflicts with the sellers being like, no, don't want that time. So you're trying to figure that out. Now I'm starting to see them fill up. That was kind of my whole point is I'm not seeing crazy like booked out solid, but I'm starting to see more black spots is what I call them in the showing
Yeah.
time app where there's more
I actually
filled
have,
up where, yeah. You have
I
what?
don't know if you know this, but I actually have a live picture of you scheduling those 15 showings. I didn't know you were going to talk about this. I just happened to have it up. So,
Oh,
let's
okay.
see.
Yeah. Do you want me to bring it up?
Yeah, hold on. All right, yeah. I'm going to share my screen, and this is a
Okay.
live look in you guys of Aaron scheduling those 15 showings over one weekend during the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. This is just an average weekend for me, right? Yeah. Okay.
It's an
Perfect.
average
Yep.
weekend. There he is. So
Just
this
an
is a live look.
average.
This is Aaron going to showing time with all that
Connecting
red.
all the dots and being like, but
You
we
guys
can
didn't know that
shave
Aaron's
off
a
4
smoker.
minutes of drive time if we go this way. And then you know
Mm-hmm.
what would always ruin the whole schedule is if the client was like, sorry, we're going to be 15 minutes late because of blank. And then it just threw the whole scheduling off. The whole thing.
That means we're not seeing
And
the
then
first house. Sorry, guys. Oh.
And then so I can talk about my anxieties as a realtor as far as like having to
I
reschedule
would love
these
that.
as
Let's do
we're
it.
going
Mm-hmm.
on the fly. Because then what we're doing is now we're in a whole situation where I've got like, let's even be more realistic where it's like, let's say a relocation buyer that only wanted like 8 properties in one go. But still,
Mm-hmm.
8 solid properties, if they were going to see it in 15 to 20 minute segments, and it takes an average of 10 to 15 minutes to get to each property, and they're seeing it, you know, like a radius of, you know, they're looking at everything within like a 15-mile radius, that's a full 5 to 8 hour day, you know? And if we're
Yeah.
off by 15 minutes when we've perfectly crafted that scheduling and
Oh.
everything's booked out, you can like, it's perfect chaos because now they've been a little bit more lenient where you've seen some of these realtors put in there where now you can do overlapping showings. That's like back now. But during the pandemic, there was
Mm-hmm.
no overlapping showings. You had to have your own time due to COVID protocol, you know? So if you missed your showing, it's done. You know what I mean? Like, you'd have to go in there and reschedule it and then try to fit it in. So then I'd be like, okay, well, we missed number 1. We're on our way to number 2 now. Where can I fit number 1? So then we get back on course. And then I'm doing that live while we're at number 2 to try to get us back on course. And then I have other clients that... What is this? Hold on. I want to see this one. Yep. Oh, man.
That's you, buddy. Good.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
doing all that while driving to a place you've never been to.
Yeah.
Talking to the agent,
definitely.
talking to the buyers. Yeah, that's tough.
100%. And then sometimes it's the opposite direction where it's the opposite problem where you have a client that's so efficient and they're so ahead of schedule that they just dipped into a house 5 minutes later and we're like, we saw it. It's good. Let's head to the next one. And it's like, okay, well, it's cool. We're just going to have to wait outside for 15 minutes till it's our time, you know, because it's not our time yet, you know. But you can go grab coffee or whatnot. So it's being flexible and figuring out all those, you know, things. I've never had a disaster situation where it didn't work out, but it's definitely taken some finesse to
There's
figure
a
all
lot
that
that
out.
goes into.
I've had it one time where a client had me book everything, and then they got sick, and they're like, "Never mind." So then I was like, "Well, there went 3 hours of booking," but you know that's probably the worst of it. You know, is
Yeah.
you know, well crafting 3 hours
And
of
that's good.
booking for a client. You know, yeah. Well, yeah, I don't have clients go out when they're sick, so.
No, but that's part of it that I think is it's good insight for people who aren't behind the curtain. That one small change has a ripple effect, and it's not that change isn't going to happen. You'll make it happen for them, but the ripple effect that causes, and it's not as simple as just, hey, I'm going to be a little bit late, or hey, I'm going to be a little bit early. There's a whole lot more that goes into it, especially when you have 5 or 10 stacked up. If you're showing a house, you know, in September of 2023, you're probably fine.
Yeah,
But it's not that
it was
market
totally
yet.
fine. Yeah, it
Mhm.
when September 2023, it was like take your pick when you want to see it.
Yeah,
I can get you
you
in.
could stay there
Yeah,
all day if you want. They don't care.
yeah, and then
Uh,
yeah,
what do you think
exactly.
is going to happen in this market going through into 2024? Any predictions you've been working on?
Well, first off, I think interest rates are going to play a huge effect on it. Do
Hmm.
you see us getting into? I realistically, do you see us getting below 6?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely
If
do.
we get into the
Um,
fives, if we get into the fives, I think it's going to be a
mhm.
bloodbath. I Because
Yeah.
I feel like the fives is going to be the new reality of that is what the markets knew what the 3 and 4s were. Because just
People do not want to
that's
miss that again.
no. Well, because we're never going to get the 2s and 3s back ever. Like that was a unicorn. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
it was. We got there under false pretenses. We got there
yeah.
because the Fed stepped in as such a large buyer, and now we're seeing part of the effect of that. Now, this inflation, and it isn't only because of Fed intervention, but housing prices going up so quickly, and the housing market being so competitive and pushing so many people out, that is a direct reflection of the Fed jumping in at the beginning of the pandemic and keeping rates really low. I don't see them making that same mistake again.
Yeah, I don't foresee it either. But I think I if we when we go sub 6, it's really going to be picking up and taking off. I I think in some areas, especially like on the east side, Issaquah, some of those areas, we're probably going to start
Mm-hmm.
seeing the some of the stuff I didn't like too much come back, like the uh, crazy additional down payments,
Mm-hmm.
back on the table, or
Yeah. Talk about
some
that for people
some
who are new and never heard that before. What is additional down payment? Because
yeah
this
yeah
is a big
so
deal.
yeah, it is a big deal. Well, and you know what? The additional down payment is like the better. It's the it's the better alternative to what you could do, right? But let's talk about that for a sec. So, um, when the market was crazy, and I've never seen this before. This like started during the pandemic, where it was so competitive that people started waiving their appraisals, just
What
flat
does that mean
out.
to waive an appraisal?
Yeah. Um, so normally when you purchase a property and you have some sort of financing on your property, you know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your lender is going to have the property appraised, right? And the appraisal is therefore to make sure that the property is uh, a professional opinion of that it's worth what you are paying and what the lender is going to
Yeah.
finance for you,
It's
right?
an
Yeah,
independent third party opinion of the value of the
independent third
collateral that you're
party opinion.
borrowing. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So with that said, that it's important to have those. It's important to have that in place because it's a market check. It's a market protection to help make sure you're not overpaying for the home in theory,
Mm-hmm.
and your lender also wants to make sure that you're not overpaying for the house. With that being said, there were buyers out there that were just waiving this contingency, and what that would mean is if the appraisal came in less, that buyer was on the hook to pay whatever the difference was. Because traditionally speaking, what would happen is if an appraisal came in less on a deal, uh, you as a buyer get a second opportunity to renegotiate terms with the seller. Where if the seller doesn't come down to the appraisal price, or you don't meet the seller halfway, or come up with some out of pocket to figure out how to come up with the difference between whatever you and the seller are agreeing on the purchase price and what the appraisal amount is, the deal's done. It can't move forward. So
Mm-hmm.
that protection was in place for you as a buyer to not be on the hook to buy a house that you couldn't pay out of pocket for, in a situation where the appraisal came in less than at value. So that protection is in place for you as a buyer to be able to let you walk away from a deal that a seller is not going to negotiate or work with you in coming to a resolution on that if the appraisal comes in less than. Now, what we were seeing a lot during the pandemic is a lot of houses were still absurdly coming in at value. Like, absurdly coming in at value. Like, you could just throw at the wall a price and the appraiser was appraising it at that, which was nuts. But still, there were plenty of people out there that were taking the risk of saying, look, I'm just waiving my appraisal protection. I don't care what the difference ends up being, whether it's 20,000 difference, whether the appraisal comes in 200,000 difference, whatever the difference is, contractually, I'm on the hook to pay the difference. Or else I lose my earnest money if I walk away from the deal as the buyer. Which was nuts. I mean, some people, I'm not gonna say like it wasn't right for those people because they obviously clearly won the deal and they got into houses, but I was very careful over the pandemic to properly educate and consult with my clients on what the ramifications would be for doing these extreme moves in their purchase prices to win the deal. And we would go over what could happen, what's the worst case scenario, and we needed to make sure they were okay with the worst case scenario being an actual possibility, like a reality that could happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Your job is to advise them. Their job is to say it's worth it to me or it's not.
Of
you
course.
just got to let them know the risk. The risk, and from a seller, it's amazing. If I have 10 offers and my house is for sale for $500,000, and I have 10 offers and one of them comes in at 575 or 600, but I'm like, well, my realtor and I, we did our research before listing the property, and we think that it will appraise at 500,000. We think that's what the market says. So I want some protection from taking this 575 offer. I'll give it to you, but if the appraisal comes in anywhere between 500 and 575, you're on the hook, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer. That's great for a seller.
Completely agreed. If I have like 30 offers on the table and the two best offers are where, like, let's say my house is priced at $1 million and I know it's probably going to appraise for $1 million, not much above that. And one person is like saying, hey, I'm going to offer you $1.5 million, right? But then there's like, they have a normal appraisal contingency in there. There's nothing extra about their offer that stands out. But then the other offer over here says, hey, I'm going to offer you 1.25 mil, and I'm backing up the 2.5 million by saying I'm going to pay that out of pocket if it doesn't appraise. I'm going to go for that one as long as I'm confident in my realtor that we've done our research that it's not going to appraise above the 1 mil, you know, because no lender would appraise that property for 1.5 mil if we've done our research, you know. That's the better offer to go for. Now, this is obviously, as long as we've looked into the financing and, you know, your listing agent has actually called the lender, fact-checked, made
well, and a lot
sure
of times
that
a listing
everything's
agent would need proof of funds. Hey, do you have the money to cover this? And then we'll accept your offer, which is their due diligence.
I want to see it. I want to see it too. I don't want to just take, I don't like to just take the lender's word for it when we're dealing with that much money. You know. Yeah,
and I want you guys watching this.
If I don't have to, if we have multiple offers, you can ask for more protection for your seller. You know.
I want you guys to realize, watching and listening, wherever you're watching or listening, the difference between Tacoma and Seattle, Issaquah. For me, my example was $500,000, right to $1 million. Very different clientele between the King County line and the Pierce County line.
Well, and I think that's the thing for our show. We're covering on both ends of the spectrum here because that's the thing. We deal with Greater Seattle area, so like and I deal with the different clients. You know, I'm working with the clientele that's looking all the way down in Olympia, then all the way up deep Snohomish to then, you know, up in Everett. So I've got them all across the board there. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the price it definitely varies as far as how aggressive they got, but like to share an actual story, for instance, let's tie it in though. Let's talk about what that additional down payment was. Like 5 minutes later, right, or 10 minutes later, because you asked me. Right, I haven't even answered that yet. So the additional down payment form is actually like in my opinion, a better solution for a buyer to offer if they're trying to make a competitive offer, but they still want some protection compared to just flat out waiving their appraisal. So what the additional down payment form says is it basically has you as the buyer pre-agree up front to a certain amount out of pocket that you will be on the hook for to pay if the appraisal comes in less than. So on that form, you're telling the seller, or you are holding to yourself contractually to the seller, saying, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or Mr. Seller, or whoever, I am bound by this contract. If the appraisal comes in less on your house by whatever, I will pay up to blank amount out of pocket to cover the difference. Now it also has in there still your protection, because if there's any if there's any more above that amount, now we have to negotiate, you know? So you're only pre-agreeing to a certain amount out of pocket. You're only on the hook for that amount. So what I had a lot of clients do that they could do and they were comfortable with and we were properly consulted them with, I had clients, you know, in the lower price range, they were agreeing to $20,000 out of pocket when they could. Or they're agreeing to $30,000 out of pocket. I had clients in the higher price range. Someone were like, hey, when it was a bloodbath, they're like, hey, I want this 1 mil property. I can do 100, 200K. You know, that I want to get in, you know, because I want that 2% interest rate right now, you know, like, it made sense to them. Yeah. I still had some clients after I advised them, we walked through everything, pros and cons, they just flat out waived the appraisal. So, but we went over what could be, and then I have them sign in writing that they understood everything that we talked about, you know? But, so that's what the additional down payment. So I think we're going to start seeing the additional down payment forms creep in more. Hold on. Let's see here. So we actually have a couple of questions on LinkedIn. I love this. Okay, some people have come in here. So I think we've actually asked. So looks like a couple of questions here. Sorry, guys, that I've been so enthralled with Bryan, and I'm new to this multiple live stream, so I'm trying to figure out where the comments are coming from. But let's see here.
The calls
I'm sorry if I botched your name, but Mahesh here asks, do you think interest rates will go down? Yes. They are starting to actually go down. Bryan, why don't you mention to Mahesh how much they've gone down even just in the past couple weeks right now?
So
like
I mean, we have gone down from our highs of around 8% down into the mid sixes. We've settled into the mid to high sixes right now. And this feeling is different this time as the economy starts to show the cracks that the Fed has been talking about. The Fed starts to change the demeanor and the vocabulary they're using about what they see moving forward. The market is pricing in a lot of Federal Reserve interest rate cuts. The Fed thinks they're going to cut about 3 times. The market's saying between 6 and 7 in the next year. And what that means is the Fed is going to try to reverse its course, thinking that it has gotten inflation under control, and now try to repair the damage it's done to the economy to get inflation under control, which, in my opinion, it's a little bit too late. We'll be moving into a recession, and interest rates always do really well in recessions.
Yep. So, perfect answer. We also have one more from Mahesh. How is the house market for the next 6 months? Which we've kind of sort of been touching on this. I think I was a little bit late on this because this was 18 minutes ago.
Sure, I hope you're still watching.
Right when we logged in at noon. Sorry, guys. There'll be a little bit more Johnny on the spot in the next one on this, just because LinkedIn audience is starting to pick up on this. Hold on. There's something in the east side. Which area is good? Oh,
so
hey,
I'm going to answer that one.
Yeah. Here's the new one. Are you local to Seattle? Yeah, Mahesh. So, Bryan is local Washingtonian lender, but I am a local realtor here. I work with a lot of clients through LinkedIn and YouTube, but I cover King, Pierce, and Snohomish County, including the East Side area. So, I've got your first and last name. So, buddy, after I get off this live stream, when we get off this, I'll go right into LinkedIn and try to make a connection with you, get connected so I can reach out to you and chat with you about what you're looking for.
And talking about what the market's going to do in the next 6 months, I want you, Aaron, to talk about the local market. I'm just going to talk about the seasonality of real estate and how it's changed post-pandemic. So seasonality used to be fall and winter real estate sales and real estate listings would fall off. Spring and summer were the real busy seasons for real estate, as for the most part, houses show better. People want to move when their kids aren't in school. There's a lot of reasons people would move in the spring and the summer. Now we are completely interest rate dependent on our seasonality. You can see demand wax and wane as interest rates go up and down, not just seasonally in April or May or August or down in December. We had a deluge of mortgage purchase applications and people looking at houses in November and December that we hadn't had before because interest rates had gone down. So the next 6 months, as interest rates continue to tick downward, not in a straight line, they're going to go kind of undulate up and down as they're on their downward trajectory. We're going to see a much busier market.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So locally right now, I still have I have some clients that are looking on the east side right now that are still getting some really good deals, but it is starting to pick up. So I'm seeing shorter marketing times on some houses, and there are still some unicorns out there that are getting nabbed like that. Now, do I think it's still a better time to buy right now than it's going to pick up over summer, springtime? There's always pros and cons, because based on your seasonality, there are going to be probably the most amount of inventory on that late spring, summertime is going to be when you're going to see the most inventory on the market. But you know what? There's going to be the most amount of buyers looking at that time too, because everyone has been getting off the couch now, that has been said they're going to just start the process now, from last year over the holidays. They're getting with their lender, they're getting qualified, and they're in research mode right now, and they're out looking, but they're not seriously about to pounce on anything. So you're getting some of these people that aren't ready to nab the deal yet, but they're looking to grab something when the market's super hot over that summertime period when they're finding the right property. So I've had buyers be able to get good deals in any part of the market. But to answer your question, Mahesh, as far as the 6 month period in the next 6 months, because right now, we're in January, so 6 months would put us right at that towards the summertime period. It's going to be super hot towards that end of that 6 month period, but it's just going to be a ramp up from here. It's literally just going to be an uphill from now till that summertime. Usually seasonality, it starts to roll off right around back to school season is what we typically see. Now the market was a little weird over the last year, just with everything going on with how high interest rates were last year, and it was doing a little bit funny stuff. But if we're looking at how it's been historically over several years, like over the last 20, 30 years, right, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
Cyclically, I'd say for even locally to our region, we see it's just going to be inventory is slowly going to creep up for seasonality for the area, for their pockets. Like if I was doing a deep dive, for instance, Mahesh, or any clients that I'm working with that's looking on the east side, like let's say they're looking in Kirkland, Kenmore, Bothell, or whatever they have, they tell me these 4 cities they're looking in. What I do is I actually give them the data on what's showing them what was 6 months last year versus what is 6 months what we are at currently. So then we can have a good prediction of the trend, and it's usually following a similar model. I'm guessing what we would find is probably less inventory than we saw last year for those time frames. So, for instance, if I were to pull the data for you for on the MLS, and it told me there was a total of, I'm just throwing a number out there because I don't have my MLS in front of me right now, but let's say there was a total of 800 homes that sold specifically in Kirkland for the month of July, right? I'm guessing I'm going to see less, probably like closer to 6 or 7 this year compared to what we saw last year. That would be kind of my trend, is what I would guess for year over year, based on the interest rates going down and the buyer activity going up. Is what I'm thinking. But it's gonna lead to more sales. So that's the interesting thing. Listings go down, but sales go up. So because more buyer demands gobble up more of the houses. So the supply cannot meet the demand as much, is what we run into. Bryan, looks like you have a chart that you want to see. Let me pull it up here.
This is inventory, and we're talking about the seasonality of inventory and how historically it has looked. You see these undulations, vacillations up and down, and that's real estate seasonality as we continue to move down in active inventory. Where I like to point out pre Great Financial Crisis and the mortgage meltdown, look at inventory going up and then spiking way up to its highs right before 2008 when the real estate market crashed, and we have not gotten out of this inventory like downward spiral, and we haven't gotten out of it because interest rates have been moving down for the past 40 years. So this is a look at the seasonality in real estate historically, up in the spring and summer, down in the fall and winter.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. That's what we see. So, but I'm just like Bryan. I'm a numbers geek when it comes to looking at the data. I love to do this with all my home buyers and get a good idea of what's going on in the market and get a holistic approach on what my buyers are looking for, so we can talk about how we can go all about that. I really go into what we're doing and strategies on to help our clients be able to get into houses. So how we fight, I know I even put in the description what we can do to help clients right now with the market picking up, how they can get some better deals in this market. So there's a couple of things that we can do. I know Bryan will have maybe some loan products that we could talk about. Like I know some buyers were doing what are called like 2-1 buy downs and rate buy downs, and they're having sellers ask when we were in a situation where we could get a seller to negotiate these terms if we found property that aligns. Oh, by the way, Mahesh said he'd like to connect with both of us. So thanks, Mahesh. We definitely will connect with you after we get off our live stream. Anyways, so during the over the last year when the market kind of cooled a little, this was a lot of fun. We were able to get buyers more stuff. So we were able to ask sellers for more closing costs. We were able to get price reductions on houses. We were able to get what are called rate buy downs, where sellers put money towards basically paying for the rate to come down on their product. And it could either be a permanent buy down for the course of the 30-year product, or if you wanted it to yield a better short-term result, you could have it to be a more temporary rate buy down, like a 2-1 buy down. I can let Bryan go into kind of what those works. And these are things that we could still ask for if we find the right properties that don't have everyone and their grandmas, a bajillion people bidding on them. So my strategy to tie in for buyers out there, especially as the market heats up, look for the houses that have still been sitting. There's going to be houses that, as we go through this transition period, as the market gets hot, there's still going to be leftover houses that other people did not buy that are going to transition into this more competitive market right now. And those houses that have been sitting on longer, there might not be anything inherently wrong with them, but due to the fact that it's just been longer days on market, there seems to always be stigma that just buyers aren't interested, or all the buyers looked at them, so a lot of people overlook them. I've had so many buyers get really good deals on properties that have sat on the market forever. So those are properties that you can come in, and if you see it and you like it and you can make it your own, usually you find a seller that if it's been on market for 90 days, half a year, the seller's ready now to actually start talking shop, make a good deal happen, you know?
Yeah, we talked about
Yeah,
in King County, 58% of houses sold within 30 days, under 30 days. That means
yeah,
42% of houses, are these aged houses you just talked about, where you can get a better deal on them, maybe because, this person, sellers put their house on the market for a reason. They have a thing that they're doing that
right,
they need to sell this house to do.
right.
Whatever it is, there's a reason, and they don't put it. I can tell you what the reason isn't. The reason isn't for it to sit on the market. So if you can
Exactly.
find one of those 42% of houses that have been on the market for a while, you absolutely can still jump in and negotiate.
Yeah, for sure. There's other strategies that we implement. So I don't like to divulge all of the secrets on my live streams just because I know there's other like
Those are
I
from the
don't
hash after.
yeah, I like to. Well, I talk to them with my clients, just because to give them a
Mm-hmm.
leg up. But I'll just talk about the general ones because there's some super easy ones that I do for my clients because they're super easy and any agent can know about doing them, but it's just they're difficult. Like meaning like it's super easy to know and find how to do these strategies, but they're
Mm-hmm.
difficult to implement properly. So
Easy but
with
hard.
that, yeah,
Simple but
easy but
hard.
hard,
Mm-hmm.
simple but hard. So I go about I'd say about 99.9% of all the sales happen through the MLS. That's the multiple listing service. But I would say, out of the several dozen clients that I work with every year or home buyers I work with every year, I get a couple or a few that I can find an off market deal or an off-market property and we get them a really a sweet deal on an off-market deal. So what I mean by off-market is these are houses that aren't for sale on the MLS. So that's whether you consider a for sale by owner on Craigslist or a for sale by owner on Zillow or a for sale by owner just on some mom and pop not well known website, that I go peruse and look around for that is local to our area.
Mm-hmm.
That's also, we're talking about if I know your specific style of what you're looking for, I can put together a list of what's called expireds and canceleds. So, what those are is those are properties that were for sale on the MLS up to like maybe I'll do up to 2 years ago. I'll make sure I'll clone your active search that I got going on, but then I'll create a list of expired and canceleds. And then what I got to do is I sift through that list first before I send it to you because I consider it a dirty list at first and I got to clean it up because what I have to do is I actually have to check the tax record on each one to make sure that the house actually wasn't sold off market and make sure that the same owner that was trying to sell it up to 2 years ago still owns the property. Because I want to make sure that there was a reason they were trying to sell up to 2 years ago. They had their hand raised. They're like, I'm interested in selling at one point. Maybe it just didn't sell because they were unrealistic on the price at the time, but maybe now the price has caught up to the market. So now the price that you would pay for it is reasonable to what they want now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can make a win-win here. So I get you that list. Maybe I start with like 100 or 200 and I whittle it down to like 25 for you to look through. So it takes me a while, but I do that for my home buyers because we're able to sometimes get them a good deal on an expired or canceled off-market deal. These are just examples of off-market properties that we can go in there and make a deal to a homeowner that wasn't thinking about putting their house on the market, but would still be open to selling to the right person.
Well, also,
Yeah,
then you, as a realtor who's, wearing the leather out on your shoes and running up your phone minutes and working like in the mines, working hard for your client, you're able to circumvent other competition.
yeah,
The thing about the Northwest Multiple Listing Service that maybe people do or don't understand is that NMLS, those listings are sent out to every single realtor's member, tens of thousands of people in Washington. Yeah.
yep,
So every
yeah,
one of their buyers can see this house for sale. When Aaron goes and works for something that is not on the NMLS, That means those buyers aren't seeing it, and you, as Aaron's client, the buyer, are able to negotiate on your terms with the seller, not negotiate against other buyers trying to get as many of your terms as possible. The benefits are incredible, and it's done because Aaron works so hard. I know, because he texts me all the time.
And those were just the easy public ways that I'm completely fine sharing on this live broadcast, just in case any of my other realtors are listening, where it's like, you could do this too easily, you know. But then let's chat. Any of my buyers, they know the other ways that I go about sourcing off-market properties. It will blow your mind with how we can connect you with some off-market homeowners and make that connection. But not to but I mean, I would love to eventually have a private MLS database in the next like 10 years of, here's who wants to sell. I have this person. They want to buy. If I found the right person, but yeah,
it's going to be called the Northwest Morrow Listing Service, the NMLS still.
The Northwest don't list your home, but if you ever wanted to sell to this specific person in this, so you never had to get off your couch to list it, I found you the right buyer. Here you go. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So that database, whatever that is, that's what
All right, we're going to give them that one strategy. You also talked about doing temporary or permanent buy downs. I don't recommend temporary buy downs right now as rates are going down, but I will talk about them a little bit. Permanent buy down is you're going to pay the investor who is going to, or pool of investors who end up purchasing this mortgage, a set amount of interest up front for the right to pay a lower amount of interest through the life of the loan. So say the rate for the day that's not going to cost you anything and they're not going to get any credits for this is 7%. You can buy your rate down to say 6.75%, and maybe that costs you 1% of your loan amount, 0.5% of your loan amount. That's a permanent buy down. The inverse is true, where you can take a higher rate and you can get a little bit of a credit from those investors. So they're going to pay you interest up front to help pay your closing costs for the right to have higher interest payments throughout the life of your loan. That's a permanent buy down.
Right.
A temporary buy down means you're going to have a 30-year fixed mortgage. We'll use the same 7% interest rate. And if you do what Aaron talked about, a 2-1 buy down, you're going to have the first 12 payments, the first 12 months, the first year is going to be at 5%. That's the 2 part. So it's going to go from 7 down to 5%. The second year, you're going to have a mortgage at 6%. So you'll step up a little bit. And then the third through the 30th year, if you never refinance, it's still a 30-year fixed mortgage at 7%. The benefit of this is the cost of it is exactly commensurate to the amount of money that you are spending or saving. So say over those monthly payment, those 2 years, your monthly payment savings, because the first year paying 5%, the second year 6%, is $12,000. The cost of the temporary buy down is just $12,000. What happens is we take that money, we put it in an escrow account, and we supplement your payment every month. The good news is if you decide to refinance because rates come down to a place where it makes sense, and you're still within your temporary buy down period, that money is yours. It just comes back to you. As opposed to a permanent buy down, that money will never come back to you because whether you keep the loan for a month, for a year, or 30 years, you told the investor, I'm going to pay some money up front to have lower payments throughout the life of the loan. They don't care how long the life of the loan is. That was the contract.
Right. So even if you refinanced it, tough luck, right?
That money is a sunk cost. For a temporary buy down, I don't recommend them now. If you're going to, I would just do a 1.0 buy down, which in this scenario would be 6% for the first year and then 7% thereafter. It's much less expensive. And with rates trending downward right now and trending downward relatively quickly compared to the last 20, 21 months, I wouldn't be paying for a lower rate because I'm going to be refinancing in 6 to 8 months when rates are generally lower anyways.
I agree with your trend. I would much rather go for a combination of, if we can negotiate, a combination of the purchase price and the closing costs. You know,
absolutely, 100%. I would save my cash, and I would hope for the seller to pay some closing costs, or for a price reduction. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I love looking for those. So I love hunting for those properties that have been sitting, so we can get a good deal. Especially, we need some of those wins if we enter a more hot market, which looks like we might be entering, but.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, it was a little weird there because even last year with what was going on with high interest rates, we're talking about interest rates got into the 8s, folks, right? And even in the 8s, there were some high price points. We're talking about above $1 million in certain areas houses had bidding wars.
Yeah.
Multiple offers, nothing crazy where like people were like, here, take my firstborn, and then here's my kidney, and then waived appraisal. But we still had people being like, I'm gonna go 50,000 over, and waive my inspection, or pay for a pre-inspection, that stuff that was going on certain. So it was like certain pockets in certain areas, which you can tell it's in the subjectively more desired area of the greater Seattle area, depending on.
Yeah, it's where money goes to. The people who have money, they go. That's where they decide to go.
Yep.
Now, I want to say, to your credit, I don't know anything about that, and a lot of realtors that I know don't know anything about that. Aaron always has his finger on the pulse. Is a data nerd. I don't know if you can tell by looking at him, he's a nerd for what's going on in this local market. He will tell me things that are so just like, how in the world did you even think to look for that? So if you're looking for someone to represent you as a buyer or even as a seller, Aaron's your guy. It is just knowing that in this neighborhood, there were bidding wars at this month, at this price point is crazy to know. But Aaron has his finger on the pulse of the market.
Yeah, and like, thank you, Bryan. Also, humbly say that I have a nice team back behind us. I couldn't do it without them because they free up a lot of my time to be doing the things that matter most to me, which is being either out in the field with my buyers or being what I call at the helm for my sellers, which with my sellers, I am marketing your property. Like, sure I'm not doing what I call the 3 Ps where it's, put your house on the MLS, place a sign in the yard, and then pray that someone else sells your property. We're talking about hyper local targeted marketing where I am marketing your property to people that I think are actually interested in the lifestyle that your property will bring in to who I think would be appropriate for your property. Now, of course, we're still going to get your property out in front of everyone, but don't you want us to make sure that you as a seller are getting your house in front of the right people? I don't know. I think it's
and he's still going to pray. He still will put a sign.
I'll still do the 3 Ps. I still do the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps are the bare minimum, though. Those are like the non-negotiables. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, even at bare minimum, our team is doing now. A lot of agents started doing this again when the market slowed down. But if your agent's not doing this for you, I mean, I still suggest doing this even when the market picks up because it's going to get you more buyer activity. But one thing we do for our team, I know this kind of switched over to sellers, but and I'm going to get this done so then we are wrapped up before the hour mark.
You got this.
But my biggest thing that I want to mention is it's called reverse prospecting. So in the MLS, I love this. So in the MLS, there is a tool, basically, I'll inform all the buyers that are listening. Anytime that you have your search that's set up for your agent, unless your agent specifically opts out of it, most agents either don't care to opt out of it. They have your search set up in the MLS, and you have just like a client ID attached to that search. So it doesn't give a listing agent your info, but it gives a client ID, which is that search.
And your data, what you're searching for.
Yeah, that data. And anytime that I have a listing that matches the basic criteria of whatever your search ID is looking for, I get a list of all these realtors that in the MLS that have searches that are set up for that data. And here's the big thing, folks. The vast majority of people find houses statistically through their buyer's agent. So that's just how the majority of sales. Yeah, that's how the system's set up. So I am, marketing to the general public, but I'm also going right to your agents. So I'm trying to make sure that for my seller, I'm trying to get our properties right. I'm not trying to be that agent that's putting it in front of them every day and being annoying about it. But I'm definitely making sure that they saw it and it wasn't just on an automatic search and they just, they missed it. I want to make sure that they saw it every time we're doing something important, whether it's an open house, if we had to do a price correction or whatnot. Your property is getting in front of all of those agents to make sure that I can try to get you into my listing is what we're doing. So that's just on the seller side. So it's kind of interesting in strategies for both people, right? And then there's a whole different type of clientele, which is the buyer and the seller that needs to do both. And that's a completely different live broadcast. That is for a different day. A different rainy day in the Seattle area, because another prediction I'm going to call it. I don't think we're going to get snow this year, but we'll see for this winter.
Bro, we're going to get snow this week.
Really? Is that what it showed?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I still don't believe it.
Okay. 40% chance of. It's going to be down in the 10s and 20s here, but if it doesn't, that
will make my daughter very happy. Oh. But we'll see. So
why do you hate your daughter's happiness?
So why am I betting against it?
Yeah.
Because I'm a realist. No, just kidding.
We got a 50% chance on Friday when the high of 28, low of 20. But
well, Saturday, you know what? Sunday, I'm a better realtor than I am a weatherman. So.
But look at this. Saturday and Sunday is going to be 12 and 13 degrees, but all sunny.
Yeah.
That's going to be crazy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
Better realtor than a meteorologist.
Yeah, than a meteorologist. I got a close buddy of mine out of high school that's a meteorologist, so he'd probably laugh at me if I sent him to this time. So, but then I'd be like, "Bro, did you watch the full 56 minutes?" No, I'm just kidding.
All right. You
got to stay to the end joke. No.
If he doesn't say anything about it, it means he doesn't love you. Didn't watch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. No, probably not.
Well, that's it. Yeah, this is about an hour of real estate talk and strategies and BSing and fun, and that's awesome. And some great memes.
Again, Mahesh, we'll reach out to you. Final notes again, guys. Bryan LaFlamme, awesome Washingtonian. That's it. No, Washington lender here, knows everything all about the loans here. Really good. Works great with any type of buyer, whether you're looking any type of down payment options, but he's also he knows about a lot of the if you're someone that needs help with like down payment assistance, this guy is like a down payment assistance guru. So like if you're someone that
number one
wants to get
Washington State Housing Finance Commission lender in the state.
Yeah, definitely. And it's never too early to start that journey too. So if you're like someone that's like just stuck renting and you're like, I need to get out of this, like, where do I go? But I want to preface this that a lot of the times you end up finding out that the answer is a lot of those people end up finding out that they come up with a strategy that it's going to be next year when they can buy. Like the strategy is to figure out what to do now this year so you can do it next year.
Yeah, maybe we'll do this on the next podcast episode, talk about that, because there's never a no in real estate or lending. It's just to find out how far away are you to get. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that next podcast. Again, I'm Mar here, local realtor in the greater Seattle area. These have been just a few of my happy clients that I've worked with in the past. We're getting calls, texts, and emails every day from people just like you looking to make their move or buy or sell in the greater Seattle area. We absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to make your next home purchase or your home sale in the next 9 days or 9 months, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or my favorite is scheduling a Zoom call, which all of the contact information can be found in the comments below wherever you're watching this live, since we're everywhere. And then I will also pin, after the live, I will put Bryan's contact information below as well. So reach out to him. But other than that, I just wanted to let you know, Mahesh, again, we will reach out to you, and we're signing off. Thanks so much, guys. And we look forward to seeing you next week. And again, we always do this every Friday-ish. Sometimes we take weeks off during holidays, and it's around noon-ish is what we do. All right. See you guys.